Now, in this section of the lecture, we'll look at a few social regulations of wants that were proposed by Confucius. Now, although the rules and concepts were raised 2,500 years ago, the principle and mechanism still applies, because human nature has never changed one single bit. In Confucianism, the basis of social regulation is social order. In Confucian literature, the society is divided into 5 orders, namely emperor, princess, great officials, inferior officials, which is basically the lower rank officials, and the common people. Now, at first, this hierarchical structure seems largely unfit in today's society, which is supposedly based on equality. In fact, recall the fundamental principles of Confucius in Lecture 1. Equality is the cornerstone of Confucius' teaching, and equality or order is just 2 sides of the same coin. But we'll get to that later. So, in terms of consumption, each class has its own standard, and they're all regulated. Let me give you some examples. The rules set out in the traditional Chinese classics, such as the Book of Rights, are detailed, and they touch almost every aspect of human life. For example, it says that the book records regulation on the size of the temples for different classes for offering purpose. The emperor could have 7 temples with 3 on both the east and the west, and 1 main temple in the middle. Okay, in the middle. The scale is reduced in a pecking order where the common people is not entitled to temples, but they can present their offerings in their principal apartments. Now, when it comes to the scale of a ceremony for the firstborn baby, the different classes are also regulated. For example, for the son of an emperor and prince, 3 animals are killed for the occasion, where the common people can kill a small pig, a piglet. If the child is not the firstborn, is not the first eldest, then the provision is diminished in the pecking order as well. There's also regulation on clothing. For example, common people do not wear clothes that are too colorful. Artisans and merchants do not wear thick furs of fox. Criminals do not wear silk, etc. And I bet you must have a question. Why limit people's choice? It is clearly, very different from today's consumption-led economy, where the only thing that gives permission of consumption is one's disposable income. So, good question, though. Let's examine the rationales behind this. So, I would say you're absolutely right to ask that question. The system is different from modern society. However, the class system defined by Confucius is not a caste system, but it is based on virtue contribution to the society. The society is one that gives the highest honor to virtue. In other words, a person with superior virtue is the most honorable and is entitled to enjoy certain consumption. That's the idea. Now, in the Han's commentary on the canon of poetry, the virtuous person are defined as those who respect the old, help the orphan, who are moderate in their getting and diligent in their working. So these virtuous people are, commended to the ruler, and the ruler appoint them to have the right of certain consumption, such as the type of carriages and horses they can ride. So it means no virtue means no right. No right means no horse. And it has nothing to do with wealth. So even if a person does own something luxurious, Without the right, he simply cannot use it. So what the system does is to switch the struggle for money to the struggle for virtue or morality. What will happen is that people no longer treat wealth as something superior. Is good, but not the only thing superior. The wealthy will not oppress the poor, and the many will not hurt the few. Now, the question is, there is still class difference and still inequality. But in Confucius' system, it's not a problem because there is nothing to stop people from moving up to the higher social classes through improvement in virtue. So this is where the social incentives of morality come from. But the point is, nobody can raise living standard unless it is accompanied by higher standard of morality.